Hello and welcome to Insightful Conversations with me, your host, Adey-Jones. Are you looking for more peace, love and joy in your life? Then this is the show for you. Tune in each week to meet some of the world's leading 3 principles teachers and practitioners as they share how this simple yet profound understanding can dramatically improve the quality of your life, from your relationships to your career and everything in between. Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me today. I have a fabulous guest in the studio with me today, and she is a friend of mine and a 3 principles practicing colleague and the best writing coach you could ever wish for in your life, and that is Mahaya Carter. So, Bella is the author of the memoir, Raw, My Journey from Anxiety to Joy and Secrets of My Sex, a collection of narrative poems. Aspire magazine selected Raw for its top 10 inspirational books for June 2018, and it's been featured in dozens of media outlets in the United States, Canada, and England. Bella's poems, essays, and short fiction have appeared in numerous print and online journals and anthologies. Her current writing project, informed by her understanding of the 3 principles, is Wisdom for Writers: How to Find Freedom and Peace of Mind While You Write, Publish, and Promote Your Book. Bella is also a writing teacher, editor, and coach, and you can visit her online at BellaMahayaCarter.com. And welcome, Bella. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Del. I'm very happy to be here with you.
Well, I'm happy you're here. And as I mentioned, you are the best writing coach in the world.
Am I the only one you've ever worked with?
No. I mentioned to you I'd worked with a couple, but you just have a quality about you that I adore, and you bring out the best in certainly in me.
Thank you.
When I have those days when I'm like, I don't want to
You
share.
make it easy.
Yeah, really. When I have those days where I'm not sharing today, Bella. So anyway, I just want to... let's go back to, because we were at USM together many years ago, 2006 we started, and we both graduated. But that was all wonderful and fabulous. But we are both now into the 3 principles and have been for a couple of years now. Well, you've been a bit longer, I think. When did you first come across this?
I don't know. It just seems like I've been in it for a while.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 years.
Yeah. And how did you come across it? And what would you say is the biggest impact it's had on your life?
Well, those are 2 questions, so I'll start with the first, how I came across it. I think I heard USM colleagues talking about it. And then I got a hold of Jack Pransky's book, Somebody Should Have Told Us.
One of my favorites.
That book just blew me away. I found myself underlining every page and saying, what? Really, somebody should have told us. And then after that, I read Seduced by Consciousness. And I just felt like I was learning so much that was helping me navigate my life more gracefully. And I was feeling more ease. And I was just talk about knowledge is power. I really felt that what I was learning was liberating me.
Yeah.
So that was how I came across it. The second part was what it's doing in my life, how it's influenced my life. Oh, that's a big question.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to be succinct, though, in my answer, because I know we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
There's greater ease in my life. I was struggling with anxiety, and I'm no longer struggling with anxiety, even when I got locked in the parking garage today.
I know, isn't it beautiful? It's so much ease and grace. It doesn't matter what it throws at us.
It just doesn't matter. And I just have a clearer sense of who I am and what I can trust within my own body, mind, and spirit. So I'm no longer listening to a lot of chatter in my mind that's not helpful. And that has freed me tremendously. And it also has greatly influenced the work that I do with other people, the coaching work and the teaching work that I do.
Yeah. Well, let's separate that out for a second. You say the teaching work you do. Now, you're talking about the teaching as far as the writing coaching, is that right?
You know, it's funny. I just recently, when you introduced the book, you called it Wisdom for Writers, but actually the title is Spiritual Wisdom for Writers. And what I'm learning about myself, I mean, we continue to evolve and grow. So I've been a writing teacher for the last 11 years. But I'm also a spiritual teacher, and I never knew that, and I can't believe I'm saying it in public. But I'm realizing that that it is true.
Yes.
And that I'm also a student. I'm a student of writing and also a student of spirit. And I teach, there's that expression, you teach what you want to learn.
Yeah.
I think I do that. And I think I'm a good guide.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I agree, you are. But I mean, that thing that you said that, you know, we're teachers and we're students. I mean, two things that come up for me in that is that, you know, Sid always said, just teach what you know. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be a professional. Just share what you know. And then the other one is, I think of George Pransky, and I love him so much. And I love that, you know, after 40 plus years of this understanding, he can still say, I don't know anything. And he genuinely means it. And it's that sort of beginner's mind, keeping open and being always discovering new stuff. I love it.
I love that too. There's a wonderful writer who is not a Three Principles writer, but is a spiritual writer, and her name is Dr. Gail Brenner. Oh. And she suggests that you just say to yourself, I know nothing. And when I first read that, I had such resistance to it because I felt like, darn it, you know, I've been working my whole life and I've been learning and studying and I know a few things.
Exactly.
But I find that when I move into that I know nothing, I let go of my assumptions and my judgments, and I'm just much more open and available to what is.
It is. It's like that, you know, they always say don't go to the river with a full cup. I mean, because you can't put anything in it. I mean, if you empty the cup and you scoop the water, you're always refilling. And that's what I love about the principles, is that it's not this new thing that just came about in the 70s. Its roots are in all sort of mysticism and philosophy and ancient old religions. It's the same thing. We're all pointing to the same direction.
I find myself reading so much spiritual literature, and everybody's saying the same thing.
Exactly.
I mean, what the Three Principles is saying is not new.
No, exactly. That is that, you know, we're all perfect as we are on the... I mean, exactly. You share what you think the principles are, the essence of how you would describe them to somebody that is saying to you for the first time, what is this?
Well, I can say what it is for me.
Yeah, just for you,
Just for me. For me, it's an understanding that I grew up as a dancer, and I was very identified with my body. And for the first part of my life, I thought, I am my body. And then I had a back injury and had to stop dancing, and I segued into writing. And then I became very cerebral, and I really took my thinking very seriously. And I, in fact, was completely identified with my thinking.
Yeah.
I think of fish in water, how they swim around, and they're not even aware of the water. That's how it was for me with my thinking. I wasn't aware that I was thinking, and everything that appeared in my thinking, I believed, and it seemed true. So I've been liberated from that, because I now know I'm not my body, I'm not my thinking. Yeah. So what am I? And I've actually had some experiences. I've read a lot about this. And at USM, they would say, well, you're a spiritual being having a human experience, which has become a cliche by now. Yeah. But I've actually had some experiences where I know who I am because I have actually left this body and existed in multiple dimensions of time and space.
Oh, wow.
And I have had ancient beings speak through me in a language I didn't understand, and I understood the message. Yeah. So I've had some experiences that were not psychotic.
Yes.
that where I've experienced myself as something other than my body and other than my thinking. And that's who I really am. Yes. And even though I oscillate back and forth, and sometimes I'm way hijacked by my thinking, or my body is achy or whatever, and I'm focused on that, it's very helpful for me to know who I really am as this eternal being having this temporary experience. Yeah.
No, that's beautifully put. And my experience is not as exciting with all these other beings, but yes, I know exactly what you mean. Just having that sort of ability to observe from a little bit of distance, to have some perspective, especially when I'm really, really caught up in a thought storm that just completely hijacks me like it did yesterday. So, but that's what's so beautiful about this, is that we're not striving for perfection. We just understand that we are, we're humans as well as spiritual beings, and that our human experience is just part of it. It's what we're here doing.
And if I had known that as a young writer, or even as a young dancer, as a young artist, as a person who wanted to express herself and needed to express herself, if I had known that there was no such thing as not good enough, that would have been amazing.
Yeah.
Because I was so filled with not good enough and constantly and doing things that I loved, but constantly trying to prove myself, constantly trying to gain validation and recognition from the outside. And this is really common among writers and artists of all kinds. And I would venture to say that it's common among many people, not just artists. I mean, we saw that at USM. We saw that the I'm not good enough was a very common disturbance that people had.
Yeah.
But with writers, sometimes they won't even start because they think, who am I to say what I want to say? What will X, Y, Z people say about what I'm going to say before they've even gotten it down on paper?
That's me.
Yeah, and also there's something about the voice and speaking our truths, because we've learned from a very early age to be seen and not heard if we were from a certain generation, to listen and to pay attention, but really don't pay attention too closely. And if you see things that we're not supposed to talk about, don't mention them. So there's been a lot of conditioning against speaking. And so it's difficult. And then so you combine that with somebody feeling like, well, what do I have to say that's really important? I say this. I say if you have the desire to write, that's your soul talking.
Oh, wow, I love that.
And to say no to your soul, it just creates trouble.
Yeah.
You can try it, and you'll get so far, but it creates unhappiness.
Yeah.
And so for me, I think that the principles, its relevance for writers is that it helps them get started. It helps them understand that this urge that they have is something that they can respect. And any thinking that they have that doesn't support their forward movement on that wish or dream is not reliable.
Yeah.
I find myself asking when I have a lot of negative thinking, is this thought helpful?
Yeah.
Does this help me?
That's one of my favorites. Yeah.
And if it doesn't help me, then I just let it pass, because thoughts, just by their nature, they're transitory, they pass. But there's a wonderful American proverb that says, let go or be dragged.
Yeah.
Many of us cling to our thinking, and we don't even know that's what we're doing, and we're just being dragged around by the ankle through the mud by our thinking.
Yeah.
And for a writer, that can happen at every and all stages of the process. It can happen when they sit down to try to create. It can happen when they're trying to get published. It can happen when they're trying to promote. At all the stages, a writer has to put themselves out there.
Yeah.
And it really takes, I think it's so helpful when you know who you are.
Absolutely. And what's as I'm listening to you, what I'm thinking about, because as I say, I've experienced you coaching me in my writing, and what an amazing addition to your coaching, I would assume, understanding the principles are. So describe to me what it was like coaching before the principles and after the principles.
Well,
because I see that you, when my thinking hijacks me and I don't want to share what I've written, you have the most beautiful way of allowing me to come out from behind that thinking and still share. So that's one thing I've noticed.
I think that my USM education was really helpful, and I didn't start teaching and coaching until after USM. But I think, and I think I really have always had a great respect for self-expression, because it's been so important to me. And I've seen by just observing my own behavior the ways in which I get tripped up. So it's really obvious to me when I am working with someone and I see how they're sabotaging their self-expression. Yeah. So I think that I've been doing this work for a long time, even before my understanding of the principles, but I feel like everything has expanded exponentially. I feel like I've seen more and I understand more that can help people move forward. I see things that I didn't see before. Yeah. And what I love about it is that working with someone, just like living life, I mean, we always think of the arts as being creative processes, but life is a creative process. It's a complete improvisation. We don't know what's going to happen next.
Exactly.
And what are we going to do? Are we going to say, oh, no, I'm not going to do that improvisation? Or are we going to do what comics do when they practice improvisation? They say, yes, I'm willing to accept this situation. I'm willing to be here. I'm willing to create. And here's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So I find working with people, I love, my classes are called Right Where You Are, my writing circles. And I just love to see where people are. I love to meet them there and then help them move in the direction that they want to move in. And that is a co-creative process. And I never really know what's going to happen, but I really am paying attention. And I just love working with people in that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as I said, I mean, your coaching is just incredible because I've had all those limiting thoughts and afraid to express myself, and especially in writing. I have this old nun's voice saying to me, don't ever write anything that you wouldn't want read in front of a crowd in the village square.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it was the city square. So
Yeah.
I had this sort of like this block that you've helped me to overcome. Not saying it doesn't visit more at times, it still comes, but you help me recognize it very quickly that it's just thought. And I'm just in a thought storm at that moment, and to just show up anyway. And what you also pointed to, which I love, is that it's not that this understanding taught you something new, because you already were doing it inherently. I think what it does is it gives us a little bit more of a framework or an understanding of how the system works. So I think that I love that you already had that inherently in you, that innate wisdom, that innate guidance on how to help people really express themselves. But one of the other things I wanted to talk about is that you wrote a book, Raw, which we had on our old show where you talked about Raw. And tell us a little bit about that and what came out of that book, because I know that...
That was an incredible process.
Yeah.
I mean, the journey began because I had chronic stomach problems, and the only thing that my doctor could do for me, I had some testing done, and he said, you have mild gastroreflux, and I'll prescribe some medication for you. And I really didn't want to take the medication. I thought my body was talking to me, I wanted to listen to its wisdom, and I wanted a cure, not a cover-up. So I did a lot of reading, and I found that people were curing all kinds of illnesses with a raw food diet, raw vegan diet. Yeah. And I was just desperate. So I said, okay, I'm going to try this. And once I got past the detox portion of it, amazing things started to happen. I had the lines on my face started going away. I had toenail fungus that disappeared. I started dancing again. I had all this energy that I'd never had. I felt nourished at a level I'd never felt nourished in my life. But I didn't feel that it was a panacea. I felt like I still had more healing to do. So I found myself asking the question, what would a raw food diet for the mind look like? And that question led me to the master's degree program in spiritual psychology at USM, where I began to understand the ways in which my thinking was sabotaging my health and happiness, and where I also glimpsed who I truly am.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not this person with this education in this particular body who looks a certain way and lives in that particular house. Like, those things that I always thought defined me, those things don't really define me. Don't define me, period.
Yeah.
So then I started writing the book, and as I was outlining it, I knew that there were 3 sections because I knew it was a healing journey. I knew it was body, mind, and spirit. I was very clear about the body and the mind sections, but I kind of fudged the spirit section. I didn't know exactly what that was going to be. And the reason is I hadn't yet lived it. Because a couple of years into writing the book, we had 5 family deaths in 3 years. I was the executor of a contentious estate in the middle of a family feud, legal battle, and I developed an anxiety disorder. And again, the only thing my doctor could do for me was offer me medication. And I think I tried the medication a couple of times. I remember I went to go visit Mary, one of our teachers at USM, and she said, are you willing to challenge the rigidity of your belief system? Just take the medication.
Yeah.
And I tried, but then I would fall asleep in the middle of teaching.
Oh, no.
Or, I would find myself just kind of like dozing.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't the path. It wasn't my path. I don't have any problem with people who want to do that, but
exactly.
it wasn't for me. And so then I started doing breath work and Reiki treatments, and I had different experiences. And that's when I really, and I had some therapy, and that was really helpful. But when I encountered the principles, honestly, I mean, I had learned, like I think my cognitive behavioral therapist, he was trying to help me understand that my thinking wasn't reliable. But I didn't really get it. I mean, he tried to point me in that direction, but I didn't really get it. And then I started working with Rohini Ross in Three Principles.
We love her.
Love her. And the work I did with her and then all of the reading that I did, the Three Principles really just pulled me out of it because I really saw that my thinking was I was fooling myself. I was making up scary stories and believing them. Like, you sucker, you know, boy, am I going to scare you. Listen, I could make up all kinds of stories, you know, and so I was just scaring myself.
Yeah. And also being in that contentious legal battle, there's a lot of like blaming to do.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
You're doing this to me.
Absolutely. And so I really found myself, I really got to the other side of it. And it's so funny because for 2 years I carried around Xanax in my purse. I didn't use it, but I carried it just for confidence. And the other day I was going to Venice Beach and I was in my car and I was trying to just lighten my handbag. And I was just taking out everything that I knew I wouldn't need. And I found that Xanax and I took it out and I'm like, I don't need that. Yeah. And I haven't put it back in.
Wow. But the beauty of that experience is that you now coach people with anxiety.
Well, that's the crazy thing. People have come to me with somebody saw a video that I had done and came to me and said, you know, I wish there was such a thing as an anxiety coach.
Yeah.
And I said to her, well, you know, I've never done that before, but I know I can help you.
Yes.
And so we figured it out. And she had 10 sessions of anxiety coaching. And after the 10 sessions, she has renewed her coaching package 3 times.
Wow.
But after the first time, the anxiety stuff was done.
Yes.
So now what we've been working on is just empowerment, not empowerment stuff, but just like, how can I live my life with more joy?
Yeah. And just that grounding. I mean, people say, well, this is such a simple understanding. I mean, once you got it, isn't that it? But I just know all I want to do, hence this show, is continue to be in this conversation because the grounding just gets deeper and deeper. And those episodes of being hijacked by our thinking are less and less.
Yes.
And when they do occur, they're not as severe. They don't hang around for so long. And that resilience of being just bouncing back to that innate well-being that's within all of us just happens so much faster. And I get to witness my crazy still.
Yeah.
As I said yesterday, I went crazy.
Yep.
I was so stressed in that moment, but I knew that it could pass. I knew it wasn't going to stick around. I knew I would be laughing in a few minutes.
Yep.
Which I was.
That's such a helpful thing to, like, when I get into my low moods, I just tell myself, you know what, just don't pay attention to this thing. Leave that thinking alone.
Yeah.
Just leave it alone. And in terms of, I just want to add one more thing about the book, the memoir, Raw, is that even though I didn't know where I was going, I knew that I had to take that journey. And the book was originally called A Midlife Quest for Health and Happiness. And at the 11th hour, the sales team came in and they said, we want you to have anxiety in the subtitle. And that scared me because I mean, this is so weird, but after I'd written the book, I hadn't even realized I'd written a book about anxiety. I hadn't realized that a lot of my stomach issues in the first place were coming from anxiety. And so I sometimes say the book wrote me, but definitely the book taught me something that I didn't know. And I was scared to put myself out there and say to the world, you know, I've struggled with anxiety. Because I was very accomplished and I did a lot of things and I never thought of myself as an anxious person prior to the anxiety disorder. So there are so many ways in which writers are called to just stand in their authentic selves. And what I have learned in my own experience and with my students too is that there's nothing wrong with who we are.
Yeah, I know. It's our thinking about who we are that takes us down that path. I mean, we are all and sharing yourself so bravely and so beautifully and all the people you get to help. It's just
that's
so
the
great.
That's the best.
That's the best part.
I mean, and you know, freeing myself and freeing others.
Yes, that's what we're here for. So we're actually running out of time. Can you believe it? It's going so fast. But I want you to talk about, I know you're coming up with this new book, but I also want to know that I'm starting a a Zoom webinar coaching class with you with writing. So just describe what that is for anybody that's listening in and might be interested in joining them, because as I said, they are just amazing. So
Thank you for asking. Yeah, I have 2 online writing circles happening called Right Where You Are. And this is the first time I'm doing both of them online. Usually I have one in person, but people have been asking to work with me from around the country and world. So I decided to just take it online. And what we do is we spend 5 minutes just getting centered, a 5-minute grounding meditation, and then I provide prompts, writing prompts, and everybody writes as fast as they can without thinking, to bypass the thinking mind, to allow what is wanting to come through them to come through. And then we share what's been written. And that's always the most interesting part for me, because like you have experienced, sometimes my students write something and they think, oh, that was garbage. I have nothing to share. That was but then when they read it, it's usually, and especially when people say, oh, no, this isn't any good, there's a variety of things that happen. Number one is like, it's fantastic. And they've really said something deep and important that they're just scared of, so they don't want to share it. And sometimes it's just a matter of there's just a seed that just needs to be extracted and watered and nourished in order to bloom. So I find that my students, and this is the same for me, we really don't appreciate the value of what we bring. We don't really recognize our value. And so I like to help people move out of their own way so that what is wanting to be expressed through them, which is not really theirs. Any artist, like not any, but most artists know that, there's something that comes through.
Absolutely. Something's being, lived through you and expressed on paper, for sure.
Right. So I think I have...
what's the website people can go and sign up?
Bella Mahaya Carter, www.bellamahayacarter.com. And if you go to services and then go down to writing circles, I think I have a couple more spaces left.
Yeah. Well, I highly recommend it. As I say, it was an amazing experience for me, and so great that I signed up again. So
happy to have you.
Yeah. And again, and when are you hoping to have this new book?
I've just started it.
Yeah.
I started outlining it in November, and I'm going to be using a lot of what I've been keeping a writing blog, Body, Mind, Spirit, Inspiration for Writers, Dreamers, and Seekers of Health and Happiness, and I'm going to be mining that material for this book. So this book is not going to take as long as the memoir took.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping maybe to get it out next year.
Oh, fabulous. Well, I really look forward to that, and I look forward to starting my class with you.
Yay!
So thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for sharing so beautifully and openly and honestly, and helping people that are out there that may have anxiety. And again, if you're out there and you have anxiety, contact Bella, and she is a wonderful coach. And all for those writers that have writer's blocks too, which is me. Bella's the best.
Which is just a lot of thinking.
Exactly, I know. So, well, thank you so much. It was wonderful to have you here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Del.
Hello and welcome to Insightful Conversations with me, your host, Del Adey-Jones. Are you looking for more peace, love and joy in your life? Then this is the show for you. Tune in each week to meet some of the world's leading 3 principles teachers and practitioners as they share how this simple yet profound understanding can dramatically improve the quality of your life, from your relationships to your career and everything in between.